Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. Join me today for my Acolyte full season review. Yes, hello everybody and welcome to the Acolyte full season review. Now the Acolyte has been and gone. The series consisted of 8 episodes and for some, that was 8 episodes too many. Anyhow, enough of that. What I'm going to be doing is breaking the review up into different sections, starting off with the casting and the acting, then moving on to writing and story, then the production, and then at the end, I will be giving my overall thoughts. Let's move on then to the casting and the acting. Overall, acting was horrendous and wooden. Yeah, it was from start to finish. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. And to be honest, I have seen better acting in a school nativity play. It was that bad. Now, let's be fair. I give them the benefit of the doubt in the first episode, hoping that it was just a case of needing to relax into their role, but that never materialized. And by the end of episode 8, the acting was still horrendously wooden. The lines were also poorly delivered throughout the series. Pretty much like the acting, I thought that might have improved after the first episode, but no, that stayed pretty shite all the way through. For me, there was no conviction and a lack of belief in what they were saying when delivering their lines. Now, I know you might get some lines that are pretty bad or come across quite cheesy, but it's a way of delivering those lines. And if an actor doesn't believe in what they're saying, then that's going to show, and the lines are going to come out, and they're just going to sound awful. If you put belief into those lines, even if you don't believe it yourself, that's what acting is. It's about making things that are unbelievable believable. And unfortunately, these guys and girls did not do that. Overall, I thought the series was poorly cast, so I've got the cast here. So the parts of Osha and May were specifically written with Amanda Stenberg in mind. Now, I didn't like her screen presence at all. Didn't like it at all. I thought she had an annoying scream on her, and every time she used that screen or she started yelling, I just turned around and said, "Shut up!" It was absolutely terrible. I didn't like the way she stood on screen and her stage or screen presence. Yeah, not impressed at all. Didn't like her. Moving on, then we have Lee Jung Jae, who played Master Soul. Now, to be fair, this guy learned English in a short amount of time for the part, so fair play to him for that. He started off okay in the series, but he progressively got worse. Yeah, I don't know whether that was because he was made to look bad due to the rest of the cast, or whether it was just a case of him starting off well and then just deteriorating towards the end of the series, which was a shame because I did like him to start with. So yeah, that was Master Soul or Lee Jung Jae. Moving on, we have Charlie Bennett, who played Yord Vandar. Wow, what a weak performance that was. I did not like his portrayal of a Jedi, or portrayal, should I say, of a Jedi at all. To be fair, he was only in it for 5 episodes, so he might have probably gotten stronger as the show went on. But judging by the rest of the cast, that's very doubtful. So yeah, so that's Charlie Bennett. Wasn't impressed with him. Moving on to Defying Keen, who played Jackie Lon. Again, a fairly weak performance, wooden in places when delivering certain lines, but her fight scene was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only positive I have with regards to the cast here. She did do quite well in her fight scene. That was pretty cool. But yeah, with some of her lines, I just thought they come out so wooden. And again, it was that lack of belief in what she was saying, I feel. But yeah, that is Delphine Keane as Jackie Lon. Moving on to Rebecca Henderson. Wow, absolutely horrendous all the way through. She was centered around most of the boring and uninspirational dialogue. And need I say more? But this was Leslie Headland's wife. So there you are. What can I say about that? Right, moving on then. Carrie-Anne Moss, who played Master Indara. Just disappointed with her overall performance. I thought she was absolutely brilliant in The Matrix. But with this, probably a lot of reasons, and we'll get onto those in a minute. But yeah, I just wasn't keen on her performance whatsoever at all. So another disappointing performance there from the cast. Moving on to Dean Charles Chapman, who played Torben. What can I say? Another weak performance. Again, his portrayal as a Jedi, shocking, wasn't great. Again, dialogue wasn't great. We've got two pictures of him here, one in the flashback scenes and one just before he took the poison and died. And I've got to say, that makeup is absolutely horrendous. Not the greatest. So yeah, not brilliant with him. Moving on, we have Jodie Turner-Smith, who played Mother Anasea. And to be fair, I've got to say, probably one of the better performances throughout the show. She wasn't in it that much, but when she was, she didn't have a bad stage presence, screen presence, should I say. I thought she was pretty cool. And she did come across as quite believable. But yeah, that was Jodie Turner-Smith. Then moving on, we have Manny Jacinto, the Stranger stroke Chimera. To be fair to this guy, he was probably the best performance overall. But then saying that wasn't too difficult, as the rest were fairly poor. But I won't take anything away from him. That scene in episode 5 where he was fighting the Jedi, I thought the way he delivered his lines, the way he was, the way he acted, I thought that was probably some of the best acting I've seen in the show. So that was pretty cool. He looks fairly decent there with the robes and without the sleeves, but with that helmet, he just looks ridiculous. Darth Zippy. So again, I think they've let him down with the costume there and that helmet. So not brilliant. Moving on to some of the supporting cast. Now, I've only picked 3 of these because these are the standout planks in the show. Absolute terrible. We have Anthony J. Abraham, who played Philip, and he was Osha's friend at the start. He would have been more fitting in EastEnders. Absolutely horrendous. His dialogue, the way he come across on screen, the way he presented his lines, it just was absolutely awful. And I don't know what it is, but I don't know whether it's because of his English accent, but it just didn't seem right. So yeah, that was pretty shocking. Moving on, we have Ed Kerr, who played the Olega Padawan. James called him wannabe. I called him in a review show with a long time ago. Yeah, not great. I mean, it just absolutely awful. And when he brought that little girl out and he was, oh, stand still. Oh, shut up, mate. You know, he did not act like a Jedi should have acted. And it was just pretty weak performance, to be fair, overall. So, yeah, again, nothing good to say about him. Then everybody's favorite, this is Mog, and he was played by Harry Travaldwin, I believe that's pronounced. What? Who cast him? Unbelievable. Not possibly, definitely the worst Star Wars character going. What a wet blanket. If someone had said to me, "Oh, right, here's your Jedi escort," I'd have said, "No, thank you. I'll be right on my own." That is absolutely horrendous. Yeah, the way he delivered his lines, he was stuttering. He looked nervous. He sounded nervous. And to be fair on him, that was probably how he was directed to play the part. But my God, they've done him a stinker there, this kid. Absolutely horrendous. So, yeah, not brilliant. I could mention more, but I'm not going to. I was going to make comments on the actors who played Little Osha and Little May, but as their kids, you know, I didn't think that would be fair on them. So, not going to make any comments on them. I mean, to be fair, if I was going to say anything, I did think they did okay. So, I mean, they are kids after all. So, I'm not going to be criticizing their performances too much, if at all. Overall thoughts. Well, look, George Lucas spent absolute months casting Star Wars so he could get the right chemistry between the cast. With this, it feels like there was no time or effort put into the casting of this series. It was just like, oh, you'll do. Oh, you're my wife. You're definitely in. You're in. It just absolutely horrendous. And, you know, what can I say? I mean, oh, yeah. That was that. Not great. Right, let's just move on then to writing and story. Well, this show was very poorly written, with horrible dialogue in places, contradictory, and with some questionable moments scattered in. I've got lots of examples of poor writing and poor moments, so let's crack on with these. The scene with Venestra and Mog referencing travel sickness, absolutely woeful. That has got to be some kind of private joke between Leslie Headland and her wife, Rebecca Henderson. Absolutely no place in it at all. I just thought that was very, very badly acted and delivered. Just to let you know, these examples aren't in order. So if someone comes on and goes, "Oh, you didn't do it in episode order," I know I didn't do it in episode order. That's not the point. It's an overall review of the series itself. So anyway, let's crack on. Sol says to May, "I've been thinking of what to say to you for 16 years. What? How's he done that? At the beginning of the series, he thought she was dead. So that doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you be thinking about what you're going to be saying to a dead person? You're thinking they're dead. I don't get it. Doesn't make sense. They said the Jedi only draw their lightsabers when they mean to attack or kill. Then a couple of scenes later, Yor draws his lightsaber in a cave to use it as a light. Contradictory. Again, it just absolute doesn't make sense. The scene where Basil and the pip droid set on May, absolutely ridiculous and cheesy. Again, she gave out one of those awful screams. You've got little Basil jumping up and down and doing his karate kick or whatever it was. And the music to go with it as well. It was just absolutely awful. But I know what a lot of you are going to say. It was made for kids. Right. Remember that line. It was made for kids, because that's going to resurface again a little bit later. And what else we got? The same scene where May quotes Factory Reset. It's supposed to be in a galaxy far, far away, right? What are you doing putting Factory Reset lines into it? It just makes it sound like you're just down the road in London or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, moving on. This is absolutely terrible. The Witches chant in episode 3. Cringy and embarrassing to watch. Listen, absolute awful. What were they thinking? Seriously. I as soon as that started, I was like, oh my God. And and that is so bad when you're watching something on TV that you love as a property and as a franchise, and you've got to turn away and you put your hand over your eyes because it is that cringy. Awful. Right, the lightsaber fight scene in episode 5 made the Jedi out to be completely useless and pathetic. I mean, yeah, what can I say? They've done the Jedi dirty in this series. They really have. I will come back to that. So I'm going to leave this here. What else? The scene where Yord is on the balcony watching May and Sol fighting just a few yards away. Yet he's standing there using binoculars. That is just dumb. And look, listen, I thought my eyesight was bad, but my God, literally standing there yards away from him using binoculars. Who thinks of this stuff? Unbelievable. The Witches of Brendok don't agree with using the Force, so they use magic and a thread. Then Sol says they use the Force to create life in episode 8. Again, contradictory, right? They either do use the Force or they don't. Yeah, I don't get it. Sticking with the Witches. The Witches' chant suggests that the power of many is stronger than the power of one. Yet Indara, with the power of one, took out pretty much all of the witches apart from Mother Anasea and Mother Coral. Again, contradictory, ridiculous. What else? We got when Sol, Torbin, Venestra, and Kelnaka are surveying Brendok because they felt a vergence in the Force. Why the hell was Kelnaka using what looked to be like a metal detector? It looked cheap and absolutely ridiculous. A bloody metal detector when you're detecting a vergence in the Force. Again, who is writing this stuff and how has it got green lit? That's the question. Out of nowhere, May changing her mind about killing the Jedi and wanting to turn herself in. I mean, for me, that seemed to be just thrown in so they could reveal Quamir as the Sith, because pretty much after the reveal, she changed her mind back again and wanting to kill Sol. So there's a lot of chopping and changing and contradictory stuff in this series, and it wasn't just in one episode; it was all the way through. So yeah, terrible. I mean, the Jedi as a whole were poorly written compared with Jedi we've seen in the prequel trilogy and original trilogy. Jedi are supposed to be patient, detached from emotion, selfless and wise. The Jedi in this show aren't any of the aforementioned. no, sorry, absolute shocking. And like I say, they have been done pretty dirty in this series. Indara was supposed to be a strong leader and master, yet she couldn't keep her Padawan in check. She was also quite controversial to for goodness sake, put my teeth in, confrontational towards Soul regarding the girls. I mean, yeah, I know Jedi have their differences and stuff like that, but I don't think that I can recall seeing anything like that in Star Wars. Regarding two Jedi getting confrontational against each other, other than Anakin and Obi-Wan, of course, at the end. But by that time, Anakin had already turned to the dark side. Sol was obsessed with Osha and May, and he certainly let his emotions get the better of him because of that obsession. That was a lack of patience and wisdom on his part regarding the two girls, especially when he learned their significance as a character. He got weaker and weaker as the show went on. In comparing Sol with Qui-Gon Jinn took his time to try and figure out what it meant with Anakin's high midichlorian blood count, unlike Sol, who seemed to know pretty much straight away or assume how powerful she would be. So you've got one instance where Qui-Gon Jinn was asked, "Oh, what does this mean by Obi-Wan?" And he says, "I'm not sure. We need to go to the council." But yet Sol, he just knew straight away. Oh, yeah, she's going to be powerful. No thought whatsoever into that. So yeah. Basil sabotaging Sol's ship. Again, doesn't make sense. As in a previous episode, he told Sol that it was May on the ship and not Osha. Confusing. So 1 minute, he's helping the Jedi. And then the next minute, he's sabotaging the ship. I don't get it. Master Venestra was disloyal and untrustworthy, basically a liar, covering up the whole incident and blaming Sol for going rogue and killing Indara, Torbin, Kelnaka, and the other Jedi. Yeah. Torbin was too emotional and too impatient, which are weaknesses that should have been picked up by Indara. Yeah, I mean, she was supposed to be his master. She kind of failed him, really, didn't she, in that respect? So, yep. This was supposed to be an era where the Jedi were at the peak of their powers. That really didn't come across at all in this series. All this series has done is dumb the Jedi down, make them look corrupt, disloyal, dishonest, power-hungry lunatics, and oppressors to the Sith. Yeah, now I've read somewhere that is the word Sith a derogatory word for the bad guys. What? No, it's not. You've got the Jedi, and then you've got the Sith, right? Neither are derogatory. It's just who makes this stuff up? Who is coming out and writing this stuff? It's just absolutely ridiculous. Oh, and that article about the derogatory word Sith being a derogatory word, that was in Screen Rant. I don't normally read that, but when I saw that, unbelievable. Having the witches create life using the Force dilutes and devalues Anakin's story as the chosen one. The strongest Sith and Jedi couldn't work out how to create life, yet the Witchy-Poos from Witchy-Poo Mountain can manage to do it while also splitting that one person into two. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, it doesn't dilute Anakin's story at all. It does, because that's what makes him so special. He was the only one at that time created but the way he was, because he was the chosen one to bring balance to the Force. Now having these two around that are created practically the same way, it does dilute it. And I don't care what anybody says. It does. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But not only that, they go one better and they split that one person into two. So, yeah, brilliant. Moving on, the fight scenes in episodes 7 and 8 were promised by Leslie Headland to match or better the fight series in episode 1. Yeah, no. In episode 1, when Darth Maul drew his lightsaber and lit it, and it was double-bladed, that was one of the biggest wow moments in Star Wars. It was just incredible. Nothing in this series made me go, wow. Nothing at all. The fight scene was too much like The Matrix for my liking in episode 8, and I don't like the slow motion scenes. We haven't seen it before in Star Wars. Why do that? You don't need to do it. It's just ridiculous. There's no point. Episode 7, Kalnaka was too slow, which made the duel look slow paced. Star Wars is Star Wars. Yeah. Stop trying to make it into something different. There was nothing wrong with any of the duels we have seen in Star Wars across all animated, TV, movie media up until this point. They've all been a kind of certain way, the way the Jedi fight and the way the Sith fight. Why they've got to bring in this Force Fu style fighting, the Matrix style fighting, where everybody's bending backwards and then like slow motion stuff like that. No, don't do it. There's nothing wrong with the way Star Wars was. Don't keep changing it. Moving on. Darth Vader had a unique power to force choke people. Not that unique anymore, is it? No, as Osha can somehow manage to do it to kill Soul. Again, kind of dilutes and devalues Vader's power now because he was one of the most feared Sith in the galaxy because of what he could do. And it was unique. But no, they've taken that uniqueness away now and given it to bloody May. Oh, not May, Osha. Absolutely ridiculous. The bleeding of the lightsaber wasn't in keeping with what we have already seen in Star Wars. Okay, now listen, it was pretty cool and I like the way they did it. But why didn't Anakin's lightsaber not turn red after he slaughtered younglings, wiped out most of the Jedi, and force choked his wife? Keep to what has already gone before and not change things. Because now, Anakin's lightsaber not turning red in Episode 3 doesn't make any sense. So there you go. Oh, my favourite bit. Right. The pool scene on the unknown planet was cringy. It was more like something from 50 Shades of Grey than Star Wars. When has this been a thing in Star Wars? What? I don't get it. This is absolutely terrible. When Quamir gets out of the pool, butt naked, you can see Osha drop her gaze. An uncomfortable watch. Absolutely horrendous. No place in Star Wars at all for that kind of thing. And people moaned because Princess Leia wore a skimpy costume in Return of the Jedi. And like Disney and Hasbro, they're not going to be doing any more figures of her in that costume, are they? Yeah. And then again, I know what's going to happen. People are going to come on and say, well, it's because what she represents. What does she represent? What does she represent? To me, she's a beautiful, strong female. She's a beautiful, strong female lead who took down Jabba the Hutt. And if anybody says it's because she was a slave, the word slave was never mentioned in Return of the Jedi. And if it was because a slave, then why did anybody mention anything about the slave word being used in reference to Anakin Skywalker from Padme in Episode 1? Yeah. And again, people are going to say, well, it's for kids. They shouldn't be seeing women in skimpy costumes. Right? What? So a kid seeing a suggestive scene like the one with Quamir and Osha is okay, is it? Remember, this is for kids, right? And again, it's suggestive. It was uncomfortable watching, and it was cringy. And there's no place for that kind of thing in Star Wars. Honestly, God, terrible. Moving on, Yoda should have sensed the Jedi being killed off when fighting Quamir, like he sensed the Jedi being killed off in Order 66. So why didn't he sense that? He must have known what was going on. He should have also felt a disturbance in the Force. Hang on a minute. Also felt a disturbance in the Force and felt that Vanestra is lying. Well, we don't know, do we? Because that's how it ended with those two. If not, this will imply that Yoda knew all along what had happened, covered it up, and didn't say anything to the High Council, which would completely devalue his character in the prequels and the original trilogy. So, yeah, terrible. Right, I think this is the last one. Yep. The scene where May says to Oka, "It's okay, go be what you're meant to be. I won't stop you this time." Right? No. This is a time when you're meant to stop her. Right? You've just watched her murder someone. You stopped her from becoming a Jedi, but not stopping her from becoming a Sith. That's like me saying to my boy, right, no, I don't want you being a policeman, and then watching him mug a little old lady and say, oh, go on, go and be what you're meant to be. It's okay. I won't stop you. What kind of messaging is that? Absolutely ridiculous. I don't get it. So the whole of the writing was absolutely dumb and ridiculous, contradictory and inconsistent all the way through this show. And like I say, how anybody can turn around and say, yeah, this is good, let's roll with this, is beyond me. It's just absolutely baffling. So the Acolyte was billed as a mystery thriller. I've seen more mystery in a Scooby-Doo episode. The writing was that poor, it basically gave things away before they happened. So there was no real plot twists. Nothing happened in this series where I thought, wow, I never saw that coming. Everything was telegraphed. And again, I've got some examples. We knew that Quimir was going to be revealed as the Sith, as they didn't really hide that fact very well, did they? We had a pretty good idea that Sol had done something bad, as he kept alluding to it throughout the series. We had a pretty good idea that Torben was feeling guilty for what happened on Brendok, especially after episode 3. It was obvious that Quimir was Venestra's Padawan after seeing the scar on his back. It looked like a lightsaber whip had done it, and who used a lightsaber whip. So again, they didn't hide that very well. It was all too obvious that Venestra was going to frame Sol for going rogue and cover everything up. It was all too obvious that Osha would turn to the dark side, and we knew that Sol was going to eventually die. So nothing was, was a surprise in that series. But in Leslie's defense of the writing, she said that the best form of plot twist is when you know what's coming. What? It's not. That is not a plot twist, is it? A plot twist is when you go, oh, wow, I really didn't see that coming, right? We saw everything. It was absolutely ridiculous. She said that's why they left breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs? You didn't leave breadcrumbs. You left the whole freaking loaf. It was terrible. The poor writing and dialogue wasn't helped by poor acting. Some of the dialogue in the OT was bad, but the actors made the dialogue sound good because they believed in what they were saying and they said it with sincerity. This wasn't the case in The Acolyte. It really wasn't. With regards to the story, I thought it was very disjointed, possibly because we had to wait a week to watch the next episode instead of watching it back to back. I won't be doing it. I'm not going to be watching it again. But that wasn't the case. It was all very slow paced for the most part and inconsistent. It was just terrible storytelling, terrible writing. And the thing is, I don't go into any of these episodes or series thinking, oh, this is going to be rubbish. I go in with an expectation. But over the years with Star Wars series, my expectation is practically zero. I had no expectation for this. And to be fair, I haven't been disappointed. That's not me saying I've gone into this hating it, right? I don't hate any of the Star Wars stuff. I get frustrated. I get disappointed. And I don't like stuff. I don't hate any of the Star Wars stuff. I just don't like certain parts. And there's a difference between hating and disliking. So, yeah. The Acolyte was supposed to be a story through the eyes of the Sith, but we didn't really see much of that throughout the series. Just bits and bobs put in here and there. Yep. It didn't help that episodes 3 and 7 were practically the same episode, but from different perspectives. Maybe those 2 episodes should have been put back to back, which might have helped the flow of the series. I very much doubt it. But episodes 3 and 7 were by far the worst episodes in the series. In defense of the series, there was a story of sorts there. And as a show, it had potential. Absolutely had potential. But it was very poorly executed. And I put that down to poor writing, the poor acting and poor direction. So overall, you've got this series which potentially had the ability to be an absolutely awesome series. You see the Jedi at the peak of their powers, and all this has done has dumbed the Jedi down and made them look absolutely stupid. And it's not good. Moving on to production, nearly done. 180 million went into this production. Where did that money go? Seriously. Well, I can tell you for one thing, it didn't go on the cast. It couldn't have done. Absolutely terrible. The sets looked cheap, and no doubt a lot of the budget went on filming on the unknown island. A whole lot of money on a whole lot of nothing, in my opinion. 180 million. That is a massive amount of money, and just thrown away. Absolutely thrown away. I mean, some of the scenes did look pretty okay. Some of the shots looked okay. But as far as sets go and the cast, absolutely woeful. Absolutely woeful. Still sticking with the production, of all the Star Wars movies Leslie Headland could get her inspiration from, it was Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. The biggest car crash of a Star Wars movie in the entire franchise, and the most poorly received movie from the fans. What did you expect was going to happen with the backlash from this? You've gone into this, right? This inspiration, consciously knowing what the fans thought of The Last Jedi, and taking Star Wars in a totally different direction. Yet you still went with that. Yeah, again, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I mean, again, who greenlit this and said, yeah, this is great? Surely someone would have said, hang on a minute, what is this? But no, everybody at Lucasfilm said, oh, this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I like it. Really? Yeah, yeah, I cannot get my head around this, and it is frustrating because there was a story of sorts in there, and it could have been so much better than what it was. But the writing was absolutely horrendous. The direction was terrible, and overall, the whole project was very poorly executed. And yeah, it's a shame. It really is a shame because I try and stay positive about things, especially with Star Wars, because it's a passion of mine. I love Star Wars. I've loved it since I was a kid. Ever since Star Wars came out and stuff like that. So it's been 40 odd years that I've liked Star Wars, and I've never ever seen anything this bad in the Star Wars franchise, personally. But there you go. So I'm going to give my final thoughts now. So I didn't come into this show with any expectations or knowing anything about the Acolyte. I knew that the laser blasters weren't going to be in it, and that's about it. I didn't have a clue who was going to be in it. I didn't have a clue who was going to direct it. And so, yeah, I didn't come in with any expectations. My thoughts are, in all, as I've said, it's a very poor series. I didn't like it at all for all the reasons that I've just mentioned. So, yeah, there you go. This is, in my honest opinion, on the series without any false narratives or me being swayed by other people's opinions. I'm my own person and I can make my own mind up. Thank you very much. Yeah, so listen, I have heard a lot of negativity about this, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I mean, I don't normally judge a series until the series is finished. So I can turn around and say, yeah, not too keen on that episode, whatever. Hopefully it will improve. And I always go into these series with the thought and the hope that they will improve. This certainly wasn't the case with this series. It really wasn't. It was just poor from start to finish. Yeah. So listen, I know this show consists of a diverse cast from the LGBTQIA+ community, and it has female leads. That isn't an issue. And I haven't mentioned anything in my review about that. It's solely been on the show itself, like the acting, the writing, and the story. But to have Kathleen Kennedy say to long-standing fans of the franchise for over 40 years that they are toxic males who are afraid of strong female leads, that is absolutely disgusting. And it's clearly not the case. I mean, we'll just go through it, look, shall we? Here we go. Princess Leia, a strong female lead. Absolutely fantastic. Well loved throughout the Star Wars fandom. Acted it perfectly. Believed in the role. She owned the role, and absolutely fantastic. She was a princess. She was a rebel general. She was a leader. So yeah. Just want to say, for those of you who are scared of females, okay, look away now. I should have said that before I put these slides up, so I do apologize. Padme Amidala. She was a queen at the age of 14, a strong female lead. She was also a senator. Again, another strong female lead. And she is the mother of Luke and Leia. And so what more can you say? Yeah, brilliant. We have Ahsoka Tano. Okay, again, a strong female character. She was absolutely awesome in the Clone Wars. She was so good, they made her own TV show, and here she is. Yeah, another strong female character. Jedi female character as well. Right, moving on. Mon Mothma. Now, I know she wasn't like a leading lady. She was more supporting cast, but she's a strong female character. She was the leader of the Rebel Alliance. She was a senator in the Republic. She had a pivotal part to play in all of the Star Wars franchises, or the Star Wars series that she's been in. She was pivotal in Return of the Jedi. She was pivotal in Rogue One, and she was also pivotal in Andor. So again, a strong female character. Moving on, shall we? Bo-Katan, again, another fantastic character. Mandalorian, loved her in the animated series, liked her even better in live action. So yeah, and brilliantly acted as well. Who's this? Asajj Ventress, again, right? She was a bit part player in the Clone Wars, but my God, she was a strong female character, and she was badass. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. Like it. Moving on, Jyn Erso, a strong female lead character in Rogue One. I mean, I thought she was all right. I liked her, and I thought that Rogue One was pretty decent as well, and it had a diverse cast. So yeah. Moving on. Oh, look, here's a strong female character that Disney kicked out the bloody door. I mean, I thought she was absolutely awesome in The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and she was sorely missed in Mandalorian season 3. Great actress, really strong female character, but no, because she said something that you didn't like, you got rid of her. That's on you. That's on you, Disney. Absolute joke, or Lucasfilm. And the thing is, right, now we get to Amanda Stenberg in a minute, but she put that video up, right, an absolutely disgusting, vile video on YouTube, right? So Disney, in the end, rightfully got rid of her, and Kathleen Kennedy is fighting to get her back. But where was your fight for this lady here, Gina Carano? No fight whatsoever. Shocking. Another strong character, Fennec Shand. Yeah, I just thought she was brilliant in the Book of Boba Fett, and I liked her character. So yeah, there you go. Strong female characters. Not necessarily leads, but strong female characters in Star Wars. Well-written characters as well, I might say. I can't say that about Rey from the sequels because I don't think they were well written, and I do kind of feel sorry for her. But terrible writing for the sequels, and terrible writing for the female leads in this series as well. So, you know, all we want is a good, strong Star Wars story, regardless of who's in it. It doesn't matter if they're women. It doesn't matter if they're men. It doesn't matter what they identify as or what gender identity they have. Okay? I don't care. The majority of us do not care, just as long as we get a good, decent Star Wars story. And I'll get onto that in a bit more in a minute. I've already mentioned it. To have Amanda Stenberg attack the fans in the most vile and grotesque video put up on YouTube, calling us all racist because we didn't like the show. Again, absolutely disgusting. And I'm glad you've got fired. I don't like seeing people out of a job, but you're bang out of order for putting that video up. It was absolutely disgusting. Now, I was in two minds as to whether or not to put a link up to that video in the description below, but I'm not going to, because I'm not going to. I'm not going to promote that. It's absolutely vile. Again, to have Leslie Headland claim fans are bigots for not liking the show because of the LBGT QIA plus cast and characters. Once again, disgusting. How are we bigots? Why are we bigots? Okay, I don't care. I don't care. Right? As long as listen, as long as it isn't just put in for the sake of being put in. And I'll come back to this. So what I meant by that is the scene where Osha refers to Basil as a he, they, completely pointless because it was out of the blue, right? It wasn't needed. She'd only just met Basil, right? So she didn't know who he was. So why is she assuming or, and throwing in a pronoun, right? She doesn't know who he is. She asked who he was. And I don't get it, right? Don't put stuff in just for the sake of pushing stuff in, just to promote an agenda. And I get that a bit more in a minute. Well, here we go. In all honesty, the Acolyte has been a platform for Leslie Headland to push her own personal ideals and social agendas, such as feminism, LGBTQIA+, and the DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion communities. As much as they deny this, the signs or breadcrumbs have been there. And this has all been sort of like backed by Kathleen Kennedy. So here we go. Quotes and writings from these three women. Kathleen Kennedy. the Force is female. Is it? Since when? The Force is for everybody, right? Males as well. So why is it just solely the Force is female? So this is because they want to push feminism. Right? I've got nothing against that, right? Nothing wrong with strong female characters, as I've already stated, right? But do it in a way that it's not going to piss everybody off. You're just blatantly pushing it, and when you're doing it to that extreme, that's what you become. You become an extremist, and that's what you are, Kathleen Kennedy. You're pushing it to the extreme. And again, my case is rested here. A series made for women by women. Well, so what? Why have you got to come out with this? I don't get it. And what pisses me off is that you're not learning any lesson from the criticism and the backlash over this series. You're going to plow on, and you want to make the Rey movie with that, what's her name? Shamin Abaid Choi, who likes making men feel uncomfortable. Really? I mean, for goodness sake. See, you did. I don't get it. I don't get it. Kathleen Kennedy again. Rey is the heart and soul of Star Wars. Since when? Since when did that happen? When is Rey the heart and soul of Star Wars? No, she's not. She's not even a very well-written character. I just look, listen, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Rey. I think she had potential to be a decent character. But again, the way she was written, it just doesn't make sense. And it made her come across as very weak and poor. And that's down to the writing. Nothing wrong with not Felicity Kendall. What's her name? Oh, I can't remember her name. I'll put her name up on the screen. But yeah, just absolutely terrible. Amanda Stenberg. Star Wars is gay. Is it? Why? All nerds are gay. What? You were talking out your ass. Absolute rubbish. Leslie Headland. This is the gayest Star Wars yet. And I'm proud of that. I consider this to be my most important work. Star Wars is global. Make of that what you will. But to me, the end bit, Star Wars is global, means it's a platform to push your ideals and agendas. I just, yeah. The way male characters were written in the show, they were either dumbed down, like Mog, or softer in character, Sol, Yord, and even Quimir. They were a lot softer. Whereas the female characters, Venestra, Indana, May, Osha, and Jackie were more forceful and dominant. Yeah. I mean, this series has caused controversy and an even bigger divide with the fans who have been fans for over 40 years, who are now turning their backs on the franchise. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to be fair, I was in two minds as to whether or not, should I say, do this review. I have not slagged or like given a bad review because of the actors in it and what communities they belong to. That doesn't bother me. That's not an issue. We have different IPs with characters from different diversity and stuff like that. Doesn't bother me. Like I said, we just want a story that is well written and makes sense, that follows on from Star Wars lore and Star Wars canon that has been already established, right? So you can see what's being done. Don't go back before those, go back before episode 1 and change things up, because now it doesn't make sense in episode 1. That's what the fans are getting annoyed with. Absolutely daft. For me, the most disappointing thing about Star Wars is the fandom. Absolutely. Because you get absolute bellends giving it the large and giving abuse from both sides, from the people that like the Acolyte and from people that dislike the Acolyte. Right, listen, people like what they like. I don't care, right? If people like the Acolyte, then good. If they like it, that's fine. I don't have anything against them. I can accept that, right? This is my own personal opinion. I don't like the Acolyte for all the reasons that I've given, okay? And to be branded a bigot, which I have been by some people on social media, why am I a bigot? It's laughable, absolutely laughable, but there you go. So basically, it's just a complete lack of respect for people's opinions and differences, and that's what makes it difficult, and that is what is tearing the fan base apart. And yeah, and like I say, it's from both sides. For me, there have been no false narratives. People generally do not like it for many reasons above. I've just stated that. Like I said, again, it has nothing to do with who's in it. All we want is a good, well-written story that makes sense and sticks to Star Wars lore, which I've already said. There was nothing wrong with Star Wars, so don't keep trying to change it, honestly. And last, I'm just going to finish off. Star Wars is a story of good versus evil. It's as simple as that. The Jedi were keepers of peace throughout the galaxy, and the Sith wanted to rule by dictatorship and fear. Like I say, it's as simple as that. You don't need to complicate it. You don't need to mess around with it. The formula was there. The foundation was there after Return of the Jedi to either build on it and make more fantastic stories, or just leave it as it is. I've been accused of hating everything apart from the original trilogy. That's not true. I like the prequels. What else do I like? I liked Rogue One. I thought that by far is the best Star Wars that Disney have done. I liked Book of Boba Fett. No, I didn't. I liked The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2. I thought they were absolutely excellent. And what a moment that was when Luke returned and and took Grogu away. I mean, everybody loved that. That is Star Wars at its very best. So when Disney get it right, they get it right. But unfortunately, they're letting these people in who haven't got a clue about Star Wars, or they say they have, and they just taking it off on a tangent and ruining it. You've got like things like the Clone Wars, absolutely superb. Okay, even season 7 that was under Disney. Rebels, okay, right. Seasons 1 and 2 weren't great, but 3 and 4 I thought were really good. You've got the Bad Batch again, really enjoyed that. Disney. You've got the Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, brilliant stories, absolutely fantastic. And the Tales of the Empire was based on female characters predominantly. Right, there's nothing wrong with that. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Solo hit and miss. The prequels, not the prequels, the sequels I didn't like. The Acolyte I didn't like. Andor I thought was brilliant. Book of Boba Fett was average, and Ahsoka I thought was okay. So yeah, but listen, that is my review, my thoughts and opinions. Now I know a lot of people will disagree with me. That's okay. That's okay. It's an opinion. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just my opinion. If you do agree with me, brilliant, fantastic. If you don't, again, that's okay. But what I will not stand for is anybody calling me out to be a racist or a bigot. If I see any of those comments in my comment feed, right, the comments will either be deleted or, better still, I will invite you onto the channel. We'll do a live stream and you can tell me to my face that I'm a bigot, okay, or a racist, okay. If you've got the Billy Big Bollocks to do it on a keyboard and be a keyboard warrior, then you do it to my face. So if I see any like comments saying that I'm a bigot or a racist, you will be invited onto the live stream. If you refuse or you don't come on, then shut the F up. That's all I've got to say about that. Anyhow, that is my review. That is me done waffling. If you're new to the channel, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell to let you know of more content. And as always, there will be more content. Appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate your support. It does mean a hell of a lot, although I've got a feeling I might be losing some support after this video. If that's the case, then so be it. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. Bye for now. Okay, then. So before I go, I just want to say a couple of things. Firstly, I forgot to give my final score of the series, so I'll do that in a second. But I just want to touch on the fact that if you're a writer or a director, don't put personal agendas or personal ideals into your works. It devalues the story, and I think that's what's happened here. And for me, if you're too intent on pushing an agenda, what happens is that you're diluting the story and you're taken away from the story because the story becomes secondary, whereas the agenda becomes the main focus. And you look, listen, these guys can deny it all they want. That's exactly what they've done. They know they've done that. They're just in damage control. Also, I'm not attacking any of the actors, okay? Personally, professionally, I didn't think they were very good at their jobs. But personally, I don't have an issue with them at all. Obviously, I don't know them, but yeah, it's just I just think that they were let down a lot by the writing and the way they were the way they were directed. So this isn't a personal attack on them. And lastly, just before I do give my review, listen, it doesn't matter whether you've got gay people or lesbians or people from different ethnic backgrounds in this series. Okay, that isn't the reason that it was poor. Okay, that's not the reason it was poor. But saying that, just because you are in it from those different backgrounds, or you identify as gay or lesbian or whatever, like, it doesn't make you bulletproof or immune from criticism at the end of the day. Okay. But like on a personal level, I'm sure these people are fine and they're awesome people. But professionally, I'm reviewing a show that they've been in, and it's not been very good. And it's not been very good, and that's why I'm giving my final score for the Acolyte a big old 4. Anyhow, that's it for me. Take care, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.